It is just a huge honor today to be podcast interviewing Ben Burris, an orthodontist. Ben, you are, my gosh, you're just an innovator. You see everything at 30,000 feet. I loved all the status quo that you've taken on, but graduated from the Citadel in 1994. Now that's a military school, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Square peg and a round hole there, but that's the way it worked out.
Is that Army, Navy, Air Force?
It's actually a state school. It's not you don't. There's no mandatory service afterwards. After about half the people who go there go in the military. So I didn't.
About have to, and it was in the news big time a couple of years ago because a female tried to enter the class, and she sued her way in, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I graduated in '94, and '95 was when the first female was admitted there. So,
well, she must be related to you.
I'm all for it. You know that.
I know. I thought that was very cool. I was blown away. I went to the brand new Human Rights Museum in Canada. It was Winnipeg? And it's like a $500 million human rights museum, and so much of that stuff you're all aware of, the Native American Indians, slavery, Holocaust, all that. But the most mind-blowing thing was the women's section, where this woman was, every year she'd start running the Boston Marathon, and she was a female, and there were no women allowed, and I was alive at the time. I mean, it's like, why would they not have let a woman run a marathon? And it'd show like these pictures of these 6 fat cops trying to chase her down, and then they'd finally catch her and arrest her and all that stuff. And next year she'd be at the starting line again. And I thought, go girl. UT Memphis Dentist 2001, UT Memphis Ortho 2004. Bought small ortho practice in Jonesboro, Arkansas. My sister lives in Fayetteville.
Yeah, that's where I live now, Fayetteville.
Oh, wow. Well, next time I see her, we'll all go to dinner.
Heck yeah, come on.
Created and started S4L.org. What is that?
Smile for a Lifetime Foundation. We give away about $6 million in free orthodontic care every year across the U.S. and Canada. There's a bunch of member orthodontists who give orthodontic scholarships to kids who couldn't afford otherwise. It's aimed at the gappers, the people who make too much for Medicaid but not enough to be able to afford orthodontics. We let people apply, and then we award scholarships. It's a lot of fun. We've been doing that for a lot of years now.
Wow. I mean, that was so profound. You should go back and, well, here, we'll get to it. Founded theproortho.com in 2010. What's theproortho.com?
The Progressive Orthodontist. So we have study club and magazines just specifically focused on orthodontics. So, I mean, you're the godfather of dental publishing, obviously, and you cover all that. We just stick to orthodontics. So it's a lot of fun. We talk just business. I mean, back in 2009, 2010, weren't a whole lot of articles out there about business. It was mostly teeth. So it's changed over time. So that's kind of my focus. I assume everybody that's out practicing for any length of time knows how to do the straightening of the teeth. I hope they do. And I focus mostly on the business side of it.
So now, is that for orthodontists only, or do you allow GPs to read that?
Oh, I mean, that's anybody can order it. You go to theproortho.com and you can always get a subscription. So I mean, I can't control who reads it. So I'm a general dentist now, Howard. In Arkansas, I dropped my specialty license. So
I know.
I guess I'd have to ban myself, I guess. So.
Well, so it's subscription.
Yes, sir. It's free subscription. Yes, sir. But you just go to the website and get it.
Wow, and you've been doing that since 2010.
I think that's right. Yeah, seems like it. But I mean,
did you get any subscribers from Orthotown?
Oh, I Orthotown and I have different views. Most of those guys focus on clinical stuff, and I think I'm kind of persona non grata on Orthotown. I tend to piss off more people than I get along with over there. So
well, they say a successful person is the person who climbed the highest up the pole and has the most arrows at his back. It says cremated Young Doc Study Club on Facebook 2013. What does that mean?
I guess created. Spell check, I guess. I know.
Oh, it's created. It says cremated. Yeah. I'm like, did you kill? I thought that meant you had a group and then you cremated it. You killed it.
Burned it down. Yeah.
So you created Young Doc Study Club on Facebook in 2013.
Yeah.
And what's that page called?
About 1,550 members. It's a closed Facebook page. It's similar to the forums. It's just a Facebook page. The platform's a little easier to navigate, in my opinion. So once people got used to it, they really enjoyed it. So.
And you started Ortho Pundit 2015. What's orthopundit.com?
It's my blog. It's Ortho Pundit. Just basically, I go in there 3 or 4 times a week and write about whatever. So just keep stirring it up. Yeah, I mean, you're the original crap stirrer. Howard. You're the one that got to change it up and shook it up and made everybody pay attention. So in a lot of ways, I'm kind of
My
following you.
only claim to fame is when two states, including the state I went to dental school in, passed a statute or whatever at the state dental association level that I could never speak again. I think it was Missouri and Rhode Island. And it's like when I found out about that, I was so proud because, I'm old school. I believe that if I really love you and I really respect you, I'm really going to tell you what I think. And to stand
No,
behind a podium in a
thank you,
suit
brother.
and tie and go along, it was the same thing. I started out, mom taking us to the Catholic Church, and we had to go to Mass every single morning from birth to 17. And not one person could raise their hand and just say things like, well, why can't we use birth control? I mean, you can't afford 9 kids,
Or
11.
members, man. Don't you know anything? Come on.
I had one of my best friends, Brian Hesse. I mean, there were 21 kids in the family. It's hard just to eat when there's
Yeah.
21 kids in the family.
Sleeping shifts, hot racket, sleeping
Yeah,
shifts.
there were 3 to bed, and
Yeah.
so who is the priest to say you can't use birth control? He didn't have 21 kids, but I know you're not supposed to talk about religion, sex, politics, violence, but yeah, I'm old school. I just believe that if I really respect you, I'm going to tell you what you think, and if you don't like it, you can disagree with what I say, but I think you should respect me, at least that I had enough respect in you to tell you what I think, and just assume that maybe you had an open mind and could hear a dissenting opinion. And but over the years, the American Dental Association, it's kind of my favorite Catholic priest was Martin Luther, who wrote the 96 Theses and taped it to their wall.
Nailed it to the wall, yeah.
And they tried to kill him. He had to actually, you should see the movie Luther. His wife was a cloistered Carmelite monk nun, like my oldest sister Mary Kay or sister Anna Yahweh. And she put him in a wine barrel and had snuck him all the way to the United Kingdom just so they wouldn't murder him. And every one of those 96 protest things that he posted on the wall eventually got passed. And so we're just ahead of our time, Ben. I do. Ben says he does a good bit of speaking and writing, but limits his focus to the business of dentistry and orthodontics. He currently owns a Arkansas. Now, see, I'm from Kansas, so it's pronounced Arkansas, not Arkansas. Yeah. It's Arkansas, Ben. Arkansas Dentistry and Braces with Justin Bethel, and they have several locations across Arkansas. AR Smiles. Let's start with the. What's the most controversial thing that you did? I imagine it's your federal lawsuit against the Arkansas Board of Dentistry. So tell my homies the whole story. Start from the beginning. There might be someone who had been following this on Dental Town and Ortho Town and in the news. So just tell the whole story. What happened there?
I had a traditional practice for a long time. Bought a little practice and grew it, and did it traditional way of having general dentists refer patients to us and that kind of thing. But as you get bigger and more successful, for some reason people don't always like that, and so I branched out into other things like direct-to-consumer marketing, and people don't like that. And eventually I decided I was going to take hold of my own patient base and started doing hygiene in the ortho clinic because I had time and I had the chairs and I had the ability. I could hire hygienists. In Arkansas, there's a state law it's a specialty law. There's I think 8 or 9 other states that have it, where basically it says you can't practice outside your specialty. Well, see, the way I look at it is detecting cavities and instructing on hygiene and removing plaque and calculus is not outside my specialty. Unfortunately, the state board saw it differently. So within a week of me announcing that I was going to do hygiene in my ortho office with licensed hygienists, I got a cease and desist letter from the state board. My good friends in Jonesboro let them know, I'm sure. And so
other orthodontists, probably not the general dentist. Or do you think it was general?
I think it was both, probably. So anyway, the problem, the biggest issue, I think my problem was I was doing it for $69 for kids and $89 for adults, or $99 for adults, I can't remember. If I charged the same rate as everybody else, I probably wouldn't have been.
69 for kids and how much for adults?
89 or 99, I can't remember, for adults. That included x-rays and an exam, that kind of thing. So anyway, long story short, I got to go stand before the man at state board. They told me they're going to take my dental license and not just my ortho license, but my ortho license and my dental license if I didn't stop doing it. So of course I signed a consent, because if I had lost my license, the bank would have called a note and all my employees would have been out of a job the next day. So then I sued them in federal court. Institute for Justice, they're out of Texas. They helped me do it, and it went really well at first, and then it got kicked. Got the the lawsuit got thrown out, and then we went on appeal. But that was like 2 years later, and I was like, man, that's enough. So I eventually just dropped the lawsuit and dropped my specialty license, because my GP buddies here the whole time have been saying, well, if you want to do this, you should just drop your specialty license. I guess they didn't think I ever would, but I did. So now I can do whatever I want to. So I see hygiene and ortho pretty much every day I work now. And I even
so now, can you market yourself as a orthodontist?
No more than any other general dentist can.
But well, the point I'm making is some of the greatest legends in dentistry, in endodontics, never went to endo school.
Right.
One, because they're so damn old. They were before it was a recognized specialty. I forgot the year. Can you Google what year was endodontics become one of the 9 specialties? But what they would do is they would just say, practice limited to endodontics.
Absolutely.
And I know so many people in the rural areas. They're in some rural areas, 5 or 6 dentists. They say, you know what, I just want to do kids. And the other 5 dentists are like, I hate doing kids.
Yeah.
So they just say, practice limited to pediatric dentistry. What is it? 1963. Huh, 1963.
Yeah,
I was born in
those guys
62.
that are good at it, Howard. I mean, I know lots of folks that didn't go to residency. I mean, residency doesn't give you a lock on being the only people to do it. It just gives you a qualification, just like dental school does. And so there's lots of people I know who aren't specialists who do great specialty work. My problem that I've had over the years is people claiming to be specialists when they're not, and claiming that in other words, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that an orthodontist can only do orthodontics, but I can do general dentistry, and say that I can't do general dentistry. That's restricting the market in one direction. You can't do that. So,
Well, so the thinking behind specialty was this. The thinking, they educated me in dental school, is that if I don't think I can pull this wisdom tooth, I feel safe to refer to an oral surgeon, because he'll pull it and then send the patient back. But if the oral surgeon will take the whole family, do all the fillings, crowns, everything, then I'm going to sit there and try to do something I can't do. That was the original logic. Am I right on that? So they wanted a one-way street, so they wouldn't have a financial disincentive.
I've heard several different ways. I've heard them say the specialist came up with the specialty license. I've heard, but it's only 8 states that have that. I mean, it's only 8 states, or 8 or 9 in the union that have the specialty license. So it's not as prevalent as people. There's only 8 or 9 states in the union that have a specialty license
for dentistry.
In other words, yeah, everywhere else is just a dental license.
Really?
Yeah, because so it's not legal. It's not a legal thing more in most states. It's just a precedent and tradition. So
right, and we just saw that in Texas, where a dentist specialized. He was a specialist in implantology, which he was, and the Texas Dental Association, a branch of the American Dental Association, filed a suit that said you can't do that. And the judge basically said, "Dude, you're a club. You're not a licensing authority."
And they'll lose that every time. And so you'll see these walls broken down. But again, what I'm saying to you is the idea that you send to a specialist sends back to you. That only works if the general dentists start doing the specialty work. You see what I'm saying? Again, understand that this is a democracy we live in, but in the dental in dentistry, the dental associations and the dental state boards, the democracy is there's 19 to 1 general dentist to specialists. So we don't have a prayer. I mean, democracy is going to rule against us every single time, which is fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, and that's why I've gone to being a general dentist now. I do whatever the hell I want to. So
well, we don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic, and I always think about that with the now that everyone has a smartphone.
Yeah.
Now that we have a smartphone, we literally could have a democracy where every single issue went to everyone with a smartphone, and that would just mean that everyone would vote for, I don't want to work and pay taxes. I want everything for free. The human condition, going to China and Singapore, they call democracy undisciplined, and they don't call their system communism or dictatorship. They call it disciplined government.
Right.
And only Singapore and China has been growing their economies massively because they put the money in R&D, investment infrastructure, instead of welfare, food stamps, and free stuff.
Germany's doing pretty well, but other than that, I agree with you. Yeah.
You think Germany's doing pretty well?
All right.
Yeah, they're Germany. That is just an entirely different culture. When I've told everybody a million times, when you go to a German dental company, like say Cavo or Sirona or Ivoclar. I mean, it's the cleanest, most organized environment on earth. I mean, everything has, I mean, it's just beyond organization. And then you come to American dental factories, you walk in there, and I mean, it looks like a second world country. I mean, and then I was in Tokyo. Same thing. The Japanese and the Germans are the most disciplined, organized. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And the other thing I thought was interesting about Germany is when you're walking home from the bar at like 1 o'clock in the morning and the light turns red, all the Germans will stop, even though there's not a car on the road. And then all the non-Germans at the Cologne meeting or whatever, you know, everybody not from Germany just crosses the street, but the Germans, man, they will stand there at the curb waiting for that light to turn green. Where's your head at now? Where you're going to be a general dentist so that you can do orthodontic practices with cleanings, etc. How's that working for you?
That's great. I mean, we do. I mean, I'm still basically just do orthodontics. The only thing I wanted to do was be able to have hygienists in the place to get cleanings and do exams for new patients. So I mean, it really hasn't changed much at all for me at all. I mean, this dropping my specialty license has had minimal impact other than being able to do hygiene while I'm seeing ortho.
So did your business revenue income grow during all this controversial stuff?
Hell no, Howard. Hell no. I mean, every dentist in the state of Arkansas was unhappy with me. And so I used to think that not referring was the worst thing they could do, but that's not true. Telling people I'm a bad guy is the worst thing they can do. So not only were dentists not referring to me, they were telling people I was a bad guy. So, I mean, it's a good thing is they don't know as many people as they think they do. The practice is still growing and doing well. But no, it was, for about a year there, it was pretty rough. You go from a referral-based model to a direct-to-consumer-based model. It gets pretty exciting. But the good news is now I'm independent. I don't have to worry about it.
So why do you think you upset the general dentist? And why did you upset the orthodontist? We'll go through that. Why the orthodontist and why the general dentist?
General dentists, they are in charge of patients. They send to me. That's all there is to it. You know, that's the way it is. Even general dentists who don't refer to me, they said, "Well, I'm not going to refer to you anymore." I'm like, "But you don't refer to me." But they're like, "But I'm not going to refer to you." Like, "Yeah, dude, but you don't refer to me." So it was kind of humorous, but at the same time, it's not. Being different in dentistry is not good. You know that, Howard. I mean, you can't, either you rise to the level where you're a kind of a freak or a celebrity and people let you go and say, "Oh, that's just, Ben, or that's just Howard," or you get beat down. I mean, again, you can't be different in dentistry and be mediocre. You either go down in the dirt or you succeed massively. You can't. Different's bad. Now, the orthodontists, I know why they did it, because they were trying to curry favor with the referring general dentist. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So again, the old saying, what does a dentist hate more than anything in the whole world? A dentist with a bigger practice. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And that's life. And I knew that. People said to me, "Hey, Burris, why'd you do hygiene? You knew the general dentist would refer to you." It's like, well, if they were referring to me as much as I wanted them to, do you think I'd have done hygiene? So it cuts both ways. You see what I'm saying? So
I love the Google book on management. What was the guy that ran that for 10 years? His book's sitting over there. What was his name? But anyway, it was the guy who ran it from 2004 to 2014 when that was basically went from 5,000 employees to 50,000 employees. And there were all these turf battles. And to give an example of a turf battle that has nothing to do with Google, look at the remote control. The remote control, I've never met a PhD, mathematician, oral surgeon, no one knows how to use their damn remote control. I mean, there's 50 buttons
sure. Yeah.
Because everybody, when they go to the design, is trying to get the buttons in for their section, the DVD, the remote, the TV. Yeah. And Google, what was his name? Google that Google book, Schmidt. I'm thinking Schmidt. No, he was the CEO of Google from 2004. He cleared it all out by saying, "Look, I don't care about your department. I don't care about your turf. The customer comes first. I want you to answer every question. What would be best for the human searching on Google?" And he kept it on only the customer. So in dentistry, one of the biggest problems that I don't like about ortho, and things my number one problem I don't like about ortho is the mom wants the little boy's teeth straight. He has shown no behavior of brushing and flossing his teeth. and after 2 years of ortho, you take it off, and there's demineralization all around. You've seen that before.
Not in my practice. I mean, occasionally people run off on you, but I'm an absolute tyrant when it comes to brushing. I will not straighten teeth and see it black. I'm with you.
So would it decrease the chance of getting demineralization on a boy with a booger hanging out of his nose, his hair matted up, and he's worn the same football shirt jersey 4 days in a row, if when he came into the orthodontic office, he had more access, availability, and affordability to getting his teeth cleaned with a hygienist in your practice?
I've said it 1,000 times, Howard. More access is good for good. There's more graduates, more access, lower cost is always good, even though we don't believe that. We've gotten ourselves a dentistry where our needs and wants are at odds with patients' needs and wants. And it's just crazy because there's a good third of the population who don't utilize dentists, and I bet it's like 95% of the population who don't utilize ortho. So, I mean, there's no reason for it. We should be absolutely looking at what's best for the patients, period.
How Google Works by Eric Schmidt. And, the customer has come first. It's the same gosh darn thing with the Texas lawsuit case. I mean, I'm a patient. This is America. The surgeon, the periodontist, the implants, a lab's making the prosthesis, a dentist was inserting it, and I'm having problems, and I'm upset. And so here's a dentist in Texas says, hey, I just specialize in implants. That's all I do. And he might have his diplomat in the International Congress or implantology or whatever, and he wants to market that to the customer to say, hey, if you're getting the runaround, if you're getting treatment in 5 different areas and it's not getting solved, come to me. I mean, so what's best for the patient should be the marching orders for all businesses, including dentistry and orthodontics.
Well, it's all artificial anyway. I mean, orthodontics, endodontics, it's all just random lines drawn in the sand anyway. I mean, again,
except for pediatric dentistry, it's a smaller human. It's still the same root canal, filling, crown, ortho, but it's a smaller monkey.
Totally
that
agree
was a
with
joke.
you.
That was a joke. The only thing they specialize in is a smaller monkey.
Well, again, it's funny. Again, how do they draw the line? So a pediatric dentist can do ortho, it's really random the way if you look at it. It's random the way it's drawn. The training is random. I tell the orthodontic residents all the time. I mean, they go in there, they treat 30 or 40 cases at the most from start to finish, and they come out and they're an expert at orthodontics. I'm like, give me a break. You don't know crap. You've learned the basics. You learn how to learn. So it's in the same vein. The general dentist told me I can't do general dentistry because I haven't done it in a long time. So, but on the same breath, they'll turn around and say somebody who just graduated dental school who did 5 crowns and 10 fillings is more qualified than me to do general dentistry. It's like, it's so random and it's so driven by what we've always done. It's ridiculous. I mean, we have to look at what's going on with a fresh light, or we're going to get killed because, again, dentistry has gotten itself on the wrong side of access to care and the wrong side of what's good for patients. It's a big deal.
So how many offices do you have now?
We have 21.
So how many do you have other orthodontists working for you?
We've got 5 orthodontists I work with. Great, they're fantastic orthodontists.
So are they employees or partners?
Employees.
So why does okay, so let's talk about that for a while. Group practices now is about 12% of the market as far as there's 35 big box multi-state with about 8,000 dentists. This is what do you think about that? Why is this growing? Is it better for the consumer? Is it getting what percent of the market do you think it'll have in another 2 decades, 25 years from now? Is this the business model? What are your thoughts on that? On group?
I went to the ADSO for the first time this year, and they're saying it's close to 20% of general dentistry and orthodontics, and especially it's all done by group practices. So they say within 5 years, people are predicting 50% will be done.
Within 5 years?
That's what they're saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. They're not going to go from. Well, first of all, let's go back to that. The problem with the definitions is when you say corporate dentistry. Well, number one, probably 75% of the dentists are incorporated, so they're a PC, LLC, so that doesn't make sense. But I think if you define it by big corporate dentistry that's in 2 or more states, it's 12%.
Well, then I would, I wouldn't qualify then. Again, my way of looking at it is the non-traditional multi-specialty, multi-location practice.
Okay, so let's do this. So let's go to the other end. Let's go into the dental school class, and I asked the dental school class, do you want to own your own business or do you want to be an employee? I do agree that half the class says they'd rather be an employee. I see
Which
that.
is way more than it used to be. I mean,
Which I think is because of the change in demographics. Two-thirds of the two-thirds of the dentists in corporate are women, and women tend to marry across economic lines. Like if you're a female doctor, you're not going to marry the cook at the Waffle House. But if you're a male doctor and valedictorian of your class, you'll marry the waitress. You'll marry the greeter at the Walmart if she looks hot. So the female dentists always have a spouse who has a good job, and if
yeah,
they got a
I haven't
spouse
seen
with
the
a good
stats on
job,
that.
yeah,
I haven't seen any stats on that, but I mean, I know that there's more females in dentistry now. So
it's well, the graduating classes are about 45% was last year, so let's just say half. It's slightly less than half. It's 45%. But when you go into these like Heartlands and Pacifics, it's 65% female. And what I'm saying is the change in demographics is the fact that when they get off 5 o'clock, they want to go be a soccer mom. They don't want to sit up
well,
and
again, I'm always pretty careful. This is one of those areas I'm pretty careful about making generalizations about our female colleagues as far as that goes. Just because I don't know. My wife calls me a feminist. I'm not. I'm an egalitarian, but it's a whole different thing. I guess what I'm getting at though is it's become more acceptable. Used to, if you didn't own a dental practice, you were a bad person. You were just a bad person if you didn't own a dental practice. But if somebody had offered me, I mean, the kind of money, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 you're getting paid now to be an associate when I got out of school, no way I'd have gone through all this crap. I'd have been an employee all day long. We're moving towards a medical model. Absolutely. Consolidation's happening. I totally agree with you. The demographics change. I mean,
okay,
I think,
well, let's
I think
talk
also
about.
the debt. The debt's a big deal too. They can't go start a practice. They just can't get out there and borrow the money.
Well, that's a myth. I've podcast interviewed several bankers. I mean, if you're 1 year out of school, you have access to capital if you buy an existing selling practice that has the cash flow to make it meet. So there
Oh,
is
of course,
total
yeah.
access to capital. But is there an
If you can
emotional?
find a practice.
Is there an emotional element that I'm 350 in debt? I really don't want to add another 600 to that. I really don't want to be 26 years old and 1 million in debt. I just emotionally implosion. But as far as the sexist deal, there's nothing. There's nothing sexist to say that women buy
I didn't
90.
say you're sexist.
No. I'm just saying there's nothing sexist that 99% of the pantyhose in America are sold to women. I mean that's a fact. It's not sexism. And I'm in these dental schools. I'm in a dozen a year, and the when you talk to someone who studies sociology, anthropology, whatever, women marry across socioeconomic barriers and up. So then, of course, men have to marry down. Men will marry based on visual stimulation. They want a certain look, whatever, and it doesn't matter if they're on food stamps. But women are intelligent about their marriage, so their spouse, a women dentist is always married to an engineer, a banker, a lawyer. 30% of them married a dentist. So when you offer them a great job and you offer them 150, 250, 300, whatever, and they can leave at 5 o'clock and then put on their mom hat and raise a family, yeah, that's one massive, undeniable feature that's fueling corporate dentistry. And corporate dentistry has been burned by a lot of hiring a young Howard or a Big Ben that wants a job but has his eye on owning his own business and is just taking this job because they don't want the staff turnover. They don't want to say, okay, he was here for a year or two, now he found his own place and it's gone. They all obviously want employees for life.
Oh, I can tell you from my limited experience and this kind of thing that turnover is tough and
So
hiring is tough.
how many offices did you say you have?
We have 21.
21 offices. Are they all in Arkansas?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this. This is one thing I don't understand. When I go into Sioux Falls, Midwest, Arkansas, and I see a group practice where it's big enough to have a management team, someone who specializes in marketing and finance and accounting and HR and legal and all that stuff. I see much more efficiency, great scales of economy. They can work with the state insurance plans, negotiate higher fee, right? All that stuff. I do believe that group practice, that goes into any city and says, okay, well, do you want to be the only dental office in Wichita, Kansas? Or do you want to have an office downtown, north, east, west, south, and with 5 offices have a management team? Yeah, I think that's greater. But then the next layer of management, who wants 14% of collection that's managing these groups, I don't see the value added from those guys. I believe the sweet spot is a group practice. I just don't believe that the second layer of CEO management who wants 14% for their investors or return on capital to have capital employed in dental offices. I just don't see where that's an efficiency. And I don't think Wall Street sees it, because if these big chains were growing from internally generated profit and they were growing at a cash flow and building de novo offices or whatever, they'd all be publicly traded on the NASDAQ and the NYSE. And I don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. The theory of economy of scale is kind of funny. Until you get to a certain spot, at a certain point, it doesn't work. It goes negative. In other words, once you get too big for one person to handle, your profitability goes way down. And even at our scale, I mean, it's a whole different animal, and we're not trained for that. So I've struggled and had a couple cycles of things getting out of control on me. So it's not straightforward. But once you finally get it sorted out, I agree with you. It's hard to justify having somebody else come in and pay them on top of that, unless they could bring something you don't have, or unless you don't want to work that hard, because again, it's a lot of work to do this stuff. I mean, it's not easy. So,
well, and that's another factor fueling corporate dentistry. And now we go to the sociological, the mind. It's really easy to separate society on, oh, he's Asian, he's Hispanic. That's easy. It's really easy to say boy, girl. But how the human thinks generationally, I mean, the greatest generation thinks very differently than the baby boomers versus Generation X and millennials. The millennials are having a lot less babies. They look at their mom who had 4 or 5 kids, said, I'm not doing that. The baby boomers, 27% had no kids. It's going higher for Generation X, even higher for the millennials. So I think a lot of millennials, my 4 boys tell me that all the time. The number one thing my boys always say to me is, why do you work so hard? And I think I'm lazy compared to my father. I mean, my father worked.
That lazy thing. I mean, if you're doing it other than for being productive, you're wasting time. I have a struggle with that so bad.
I can't even read a fiction book because I'm like, who would read a fiction book? I mean, what monkey would read a book that you didn't write any notes and apply it to the family farm? I mean, I don't get it. So I think corporate dentistry's going farther. Forget just boy girl. It's the fact that they're Generation Xers and millennials are saying, my dad owned it. I mean, and I hear these things. I'm out there lecturing 4 times a month. And these students tell me, my dad got done with his last patient at 5:36. Then he stayed until 7 or 8 o'clock doing work. And then after church on Sunday, we dragged 2 cars because mom and the kids would go back to the house and dad would go back to his dental office and write in charts. And I just don't want to work as hard as dad.
No doubt. I can't. I mean, that's certainly out there. And again, I feel like the dentistry is just following medicine. This is what happened to medicine, starting in the 80s. It took longer. I think it'll happen faster in dentistry. But I think several things are coming together all at once. You mentioned several of them. And you mentioned that you can get capital if you go buy a practice that's cash flowing. But that's not as easy as it used to be either. People are practicing longer, and the retirement age is getting higher, and people are living longer, and that kind of thing. So I think all these are conspiring to where corporate dentistry is where the jobs are now. I mean, whether you're a guy or a gal, a lot of times, if it wasn't for corporate dentistry, who would hire all these dental students? And they're opening more dental schools all the time. So I don't know where else we're going to go. The market will dictate this stuff, but it seems to me like it's going towards consolidation.
And the dental schools are going to keep expanding because every dental school in America gets 5,000 qualified applicants with money for 50 to 100 seats. So why would you not raise the tuition and build a new school?
Or ortho too. Again, if you look at the numbers, there's 8,500, 9,000 orthodontists in the entire country. There's 115, 110,000 general dentists in the whole country. Relatively speaking, look at it, versus medicine, we're minuscule. So I mean, it's a utilization issue. It's an access to care issue. Our fees are artificially high. I mean, that's one of the things that people got fired up the other day. I wrote an article called "Dentists Are Paid Too Much," and what I meant was our profitability is going to go down as things progress, and I think that's accurate. So I think we were in a very shallow pool with very steep walls to get in, and that's going to change over time.
So, Ben, I want to ask you. I think the biggest thing that's happened to dentistry was not going from all boys to half girls. It wasn't technology. It wasn't E4D or CAD/CAM. It was the fact that when I got out of school, in the 70s, the average dental office overhead is 50%. You submitted your fee to Delta, and they just told you what percent of the fee they were going to pay you, And now the insurance companies all submit you the fee. So now it's a PPO, and 82 out of 100 dentists have signed up for these. So when 4 out of 5 dentists in your area said, yeah, I'll accept this reduction in fees, 40%. Now, that dentist still paid the rent, mortgage, equipment,
Oh
bill
yeah.
out, computer, insurance, and the hygienist system. He still paid all of his bills, but now she's got, those were profit dollars. So
Yeah.
you see overhead just every year just clicking up. And it's gone from the average dental office had 50% overhead in 75 to now it's 65. So overhead's gone up 15%. Those were all profit dollars. Income maxed in 2005 at 219,000. Now it's down to 174, and it's headed to, this is
I
2016.
totally agree.
I mean, 2020, it's going to be probably 150.
But now, Howard, I understand most businesses are very happy with a 7 to 10% margin.
Right?
I mean, that's where we've been spoiled, been ridiculously spoiled. So I mean, I like to make a lot of money. I like to do nice things and have fun. But I mean, honestly, we make more than we should. If you look at it, it's a very protected market. More is better. Cheaper is better. More access is better. Now, I do think that the insurance monopolies, state to state, they should have to open that up nationwide. And I think that's crap the way they have the monopolies within each state and can control that. So I
For
think we should be
medical
able
or
to
dental or both?
dental both. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, explain that. A lot that flew over the head of a lot of people.
Each state has its own insurance. I mean, they're. I mean, I'm not an expert in this. I just know that you can't negotiate across state lines with insurance companies. So, and again, we're not allowed to collectively bargain. But the insurance companies are given monopolies within each state, so that's an unfair playing field. But they have a huge lobby, so I don't know that we're ever going to be able to overcome that. So if you want to be mad about something, to me, the insurance setup where each state is separate is probably our biggest issue. That's legitimate and not an anti-access to care issue that we can argue about.
So what is your unique selling proposition? To have 21 orthodontic offices, you have to have a unique selling proposition. Is it because you pick better locations? Is it because you have better marketing? Is it because you're lower fees?
I wasn't smart. I wasn't smart enough to stay in one location. I should have just stayed where I was, and I probably have made more money long term and had less screw ups and less people take advantage of me. But I'm. It's just my mindset. I mean, I should be able to do more today than I did yesterday. So, as far as what we're able to do, originally it was me. I'm very good at orthodontics. I'm very good at relating to people. I'm very good at making moms happy and making great smiles. We found a niche in that there's an affordability issue with orthodontics. Not necessarily, you don't have to be the lowest fee, but you have to make it affordable for people, and extended financing is where we've come to. So we're much more blue collar. We're much more Ford and Toyota than we are Mercedes and Jaguar, which is different for orthodontists, and we were early on that game. So we pretty much serve the underserved, target people that nobody else really wants to treat, and we make our stuff affordable as our biggest value proposition. And these days, we have gone to retail locations, so that helps as well, but that's only recent.
And are you still growing, or are you sitting back and digesting for a while?
We just had a big growth phase, and we're still struggling. You go into growth phase and you struggle with employees, you struggle with cash flow, you struggle with training, you struggle with systems, and so we're in that stage right now. I hope. I mean, my partner and my wife. I suspect once we get this sorted out, they'll want to open some more practices. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I don't want to practice. I don't want any more practices. I'm good. So, but I suspect that they'll want to do it again in a year or two.
So it sounds like you're exhausted right now. You're tired. You're in the digestive state. But as soon as the stress level goes down, and the lesson to this for my homies listening to this, you're talking to thousands of dentists right now in dental school, or 5 years out, or working corporate, who want to open up their own, and you're sitting there saying, okay, you're doing it, and you have 21 offices, but 90% of the people you're talking to right now are just thinking about jumping into their first. Yep. And so this is what they're going to go through on a mini scale. And I always tell my boys,
not to them. It's not a mini scale to them. It'll be everything they've ever had, and everything they ever can have. So it's in some ways your first one's tougher than your 20, your 18 through 21. So yeah, I mean, again, I get what you're saying, but I don't want I remember those days, and it was everything all at once. So.
Yeah, well, I guess the point I was making is, sometimes I remember when my oldest kids asked me, when would be a good time for him to have a kid, and I said, well, there's no good time to have a kid. I mean, you're never going to have enough money, time. I mean, I had 4 boys in 60 months. 60 months. And there's no. So I think the best time to open up your own office or have your first kid is when you're young and dumb and haven't thought about all the things that can go wrong, all the risk, everything. And you know, if you want to learn how to swim, you can walk around the swimming pool and read about it for the rest of your life, or your dad can just push you in the deep end, and you're either going to die or learn how to swim.
The thing I tell people coming out of school all the time is being an associate does not prepare you for being an owner. In fact, in a lot of ways, being an associate first will stop you from being an owner because nobody likes to go backwards in pay. And so I totally agree with you. When you're right out of school and you got nothing to lose and you don't know any better, that's the time to start it. If you go work for a group like ours or Heartland or whatever, it's tough to get away from that just because you have to go backwards in pay and you got to work a hell of a lot more.
And for a hell of a lot less. I mean, yeah, and you know, it's kind of like with all four of my boys when they finally got their driver's license and they could drive the car. They would always be asking me where this was or this was, and I'd driven them a thousand times.
They didn't care then. Yeah.
But when you're a passenger, you're in your own world. And then when you get behind the wheel, you're like, wait a minute, where the hell am I?
It's the same as dental school. You know, if you spend another 2 years cutting on plastic teeth and waxing up teeth and cutting on, you know, extracted teeth mounted, it wouldn't have made the first ground prep you ever did easier. It'd still take you, you know, 2 days to get that done. So
Ben, I want to switch to Orthodontic Centers of America. Now, Lazarus, did you ever meet him?
I've met him once, yeah. I don't know him well, but I've met him.
I would love to podcast that guy. That guy started Orthodontic Centers of America. He's the only guy made it to the New York Stock Exchange, had $1 billion valuation, and the whole thing imploded. But the thing that I thought was just beyond genius from him is the simple economics 101 is you want to reduce the economic barrier to entry. And he thought it was the typical orthodontist selling a case for $6,000, wanting $1,500 down. And who the hell's got $1,500 in their purse to get Jamie into ortho? So what he did is he realized he wasn't financing anything. The orthodontist would finance, they'd want $1,500 down, then they'd finance the back end. He's like, well, wait a minute, it's not General Motors where you're buying 30,000 parts, put them in a car, and when I sell Ben a car, I need the 30,000 back because I got to go pay for all this stuff I assembled. Orthodontics is just like getting a mani-pedi. You wouldn't go in to get a mani-pedi and the lady says, well, it's $100 for a mani-pedi. You get it once a month for 2 years. So for 2 years, 24 months times 100 is $2,400. I'm going to need $800 down, and then I'm going to finance the remaining $1,200. You're like, wait. It's only going to cost you money when I come in here. And then you pay your rent and staff and team and nail polish and all. How you don't finance a service. You finance a car, a boat, a house because it's made with stuff. But this is a service. And so the orthodontist would always say to me, they'd say, yeah, but the whole thing in the ortho is the diagnosis and treatment plan. And I'm like, yeah, but why are you financing that? So what Lazarus did was so genius. He said, $199 a month, 0% interest financing, no credit history checked, instant approval, and my God, $1 billion worth of ortho ran to a store because mom wanted to go to the orthodontist. I went to the same church as she did and was referred by her general dentist. But he had this economic barrier to entry. And here's Lazarus, who didn't even live in her state, saying $0 down, $199 a month, 0 interest financing, no credit history. Why was that lesson lost in orthodontics?
Because we're proud. You know, orthodontists, we're very smart. If you don't believe us, just ask us. We'll tell you. I mean, that's we don't have a good grasp on reality by and large, and this is something I fight all day, every day. I mean, you got to make it affordable. And how much should you charge? Well, the most that the customer should pay. And how little should you charge? Well, you got to get down to where somebody can afford it. How much should you finance? We should make it affordable. Again, unless you're doing Invisalign where there's a significant lab fee. What we do is just not that expensive on a daily basis. But again, us orthodontists, we tend to make it expensive with buying fancy toys and all kind of stuff that is expensive. And it also, we tend to think about orthodontics as an accountant instead of an economist. And I take the economist view more than anybody else, in my opinion, because I look at things as whether you see one patient or 100 patients, if you're in the office, it costs you the same, basically, other than the variable expense of the brackets. So why wouldn't you see more for less? Just what you just said. I totally agree with it. So I can't tell you why we've lost that other than that's just the way we are. We don't learn from the past.
Well, the data in America shows that if it costs over $1,000, 9 out of 10 Americans finance. It doesn't matter if it's a home or a car. They use installment credit. Everybody knows when you and I were little, What did Grandma think the best sewing machine in the world was?
Singer.
A Singer. And Singer was like the 80th or 100th sewing machine company, and it wasn't high quality at all. What he realized is with the Irish diaspora from the potato famine, these guys couldn't get a job if they didn't have a sewing machine. And so he knew that if he sold, he was the first guy that used installment credit and said, I'm gonna give you a sewing machine. I'm gonna find these Irish guys and say, you pay me $1 a week. Well, then he can get a job for $5 a week. So he sold all the sewing machines because everybody else said, no, my sewing machine is $89 and I need that right now. And old man Singer from London said, oh, hell no. These Irish don't have $89.
You bring up another good point. You can't be spending every dime you make plus some and be able to do that. In other words, even though it didn't cost you that much, there is overhead every day. So I find a lot of folks don't have enough reserves to be able to handle. When you move from asking for $1,500 down to $500 down or $300 down or nothing down, you're going to have a significant cash crunch, and a lot of people just can't afford to do that. A lot of orthodontists can't afford to do that, which is ridiculous, but that's the case.
But here's where I'm going to throw my entire profession under a bus. Whenever a dentist says they can't do that, I always look at their lifestyle. It's like, okay, you're living in the same size house as Rod Stewart.
I do the same thing.
You got a SUV, a Mercedes, a Beamer. You got a cabin. You got a boat. Your wife doesn't have a job. You eat out almost every single night. You're a member of the country club. It's like,
but I deserve that stuff, Howard. I went to dental school. I earned that.
And that's why I just bite my tongue when I talk to dental students whining about their $350,000 student loans, because I'm looking at a like a $85,000 BMW. And I didn't have a car in undergrad.
The fancy glasses and their purse.
My God.
I lived in a single wide
spring break.
I lived in a single wide trailer in Marion, Arkansas when I went to school. So, I mean, I lived on about $8,000 a year. So I still came out with $300,000 in debt because I was out of state. But, I mean, again, I said to kids all the time.
You grew up in a single wide?
No, I lived in a single wide when I was in dental school residency. Right. So, but no, I tell these kids all the time, I mean, nobody's holding a gun to your head. They say, well, the student loans are ridiculous. I'm like, well, I don't see a gun to your head. Well, don't spend the money if it's not worth it. And damn sure don't complain when you're wearing fancy clothes and going on trips and doing all that stuff. There's no connection there somehow. I was scared to death when I was in school. I was scared to death when I got out of school. I just don't see the fear in that. And I think a lot of it has to do with most people these days are career students. They've never bartended. They've never done the job where they had be the golf cart kid or bale hay or pick watermelons or work the thrifty car rental or dig ditches, all the crappy jobs I had that made me appreciate, first of all, I want to make sure I get through school. And second of all, air conditioning is great. so I want to be inside. So I don't see a lot of that anymore. People, which is great. They should. I wouldn't wish a lot of stuff I did on other people, but at the same time, when you've never had a real job and you don't understand how that works, then you can't understand the fear of failure, and you can't understand that mom that's coming in who doesn't have $1,000 in her purse, why she didn't have it.
And these dentists are complaining about their kids not doing well in school. It's like, well, dude, did you have a car in school? You bought your kid a car, and now you're mad because he's going out partying on it. I didn't have a car in undergrad. One of the reasons we went to library is it was the closest thing we could walk to. Dental school, first 3 years dental school, walked 8 blocks every day to school, walked back, and parked cars at the Hyatt Regency, just hoping to get a dollar tip from a car.
I did the class notes. I took turns that everybody had a turn take notes. I used to do it $20 a pop and do class notes, and I cast crowns and that kind of stuff. That's how I got through dental school. It was fantastic. I could learn. Wow. I could learn and get better while I was getting paid.
One of my friends at dental school, Craig Steichen, almost literally put himself through school because a third of the class they had rich parents that were dentists in every class, and they would pay Steichen to do all of his lab work. So he just would come home, do everyone's lab work, making bank, and they were getting A's. He was getting rich. Hey, I want to go back to Invisalign. You said except for Invisalign, you don't want to. Invisalign has a significant lab bill. We've seen those. Didn't those Invisalign patents? Aren't they coming to an end shortly, or have some of them been expiring?
A few of them are some important ones, especially like doing multiple trays at once. I did a lot of Invisalign back in 2006, 2007, like 800 cases, and I quit just because of the lab fee. But here,
what was the lab fee? What was?
I don't even remember. It was
$1,200,
$1,300 back then.
But you quit.
I quit because I didn't want. I mean, braces, like you said, the braces are cheaper, and then I don't have to I could finance a service rather than financing a product. Well, they've kind of won, not kind of, they've won the marketing war and basically control a huge patient base that I want access to as somebody who doesn't get a ton of referrals from general dentists anymore. Which is funny, I actually am getting more referrals these days than I used to, but different story. So I've gone back to doing Invisalign pretty full board just because, again, I want the patients that they have control over. And
Because
so,
Invisalign is marketing business to consumer, and then they're going to the website looking for
yes,
an
sir.
Invisalign provider by them.
And I want to be the guy on top of the
And
top
is what's the number two knockoff competitor? Is it Clear Connect?
I would think so, but again, going back to what you're saying, when the patents expire, I've heard, Ormco's thinking about coming out with stuff. I've heard that Danaher sold their Invisalign stock, they had like 3.4% or something like that and stole it not too long ago. And then I've heard 3M's looking at it, and of course, Clear Correct's jumping the bet. I think it'll be kind of like, in the South, from the Midwest, I don't know if it's the same, but in the South, people say, do you want a Coke? And then you say, yeah. You say, well, what flavor do you want? Because the Coke is now the name for any kind of soda or pop or whatever it is. Invisalign's got that going on. So I think as more clear aligners enter the market, it'll actually be good for Invisalign, not bad for Invisalign. Because again, if you look at the technical ability and the ability to move teeth of the other aligners versus Invisalign, it's not even close. And you can't develop that stuff overnight. Plus, if you're going to go...
So Invisalign is higher quality?
I don't know if the quality is the word for it, but technically, the ability to do the technical work, it's absolutely better. So you can't get that overnight. The other thing is, Invisalign spends tens of millions of dollars a year on direct to consumer. So if you wanted to create the same brand awareness they have as somebody else, you'd have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to catch up to them. So I just don't. Everybody thinks this is going to be their downfall. I don't see it that way. I think something that's much more likely to have an impact on Invisalign, or at least come at it from the other end of the market, is Smile Direct Club, the thing that sends things home to the consumers. I think that's much more likely to gain huge market share.
Smile Direct Club?
Yeah.
What's that, smiledirect.club.com?
Yeah. They send, I've actually I've been working with them for a long time, and I'm going to go over there this weekend. I'm signing on with them. I'm going to start working with them officially.
Where are they at?
Nashville. And so they do direct to consumer aligners. So you send, they were doing like basically 2-part PVS material, send it to their house, take impressions. It was Smile Care Club first, not Smile Direct Club is the name of it.
So if this is direct to consumer, why would you be interested? Why? How are you working with
because I'm an access to care guy, and more is better. These folks that are going to do Smile Direct Club would never ever go to an orthodontist or a dentist for braces or Invisalign. So again, it's like 3% of the population gets orthodontics every year. That's ridiculously low.
What percent of the population?
3% is what I was been told by some folks I know who are pretty knowledgeable about this stuff.
Huh. Wow.
So think about this. Okay, so people when whitening used to be only dental control, it was about a $50 million a year operation, is my understanding, whitening. And then when you put the Crest White strips and the FTC and North Carolina board, and apparently it's about $11 billion a year now. So what that means is the cost has come down significantly, the revenue's gone up significantly, the access to care has gone up exponentially, and these are all good things in my opinion. Smile Direct Club will do the same thing. There's a great book called The Inventor's Dilemma, and Smile Direct Club is a perfect example of low market disruption. It's going to be incredible.
It's called The Inventor's Dilemma?
Inventor's Dilemma. The Innovator's Dilemma is the name of it.
Now, is that an old book? Or is that a new book?
It's reasonably old. The Innovator's Dilemma has been around probably, I don't know, 20 years. Yeah.
Okay, so that's old.
It's a great book.
Yeah. That is truly amazing. Go back to this Smile Direct Club. So what is their business model? What are they going to do?
Basically, they started off sending, you take pictures of your teeth and you send in the pictures, and then people evaluate it, and if it looks like it's something that we can work with, they'll send home 2-part PVS material, and they take impressions of their teeth. Okay, and then we arrange trays like invisible clear trays to align their teeth better. There's no attachments or anything like that, so it's more enhancement than it is correction. But people get treatment that way. The other thing they do is they have like retail centers where people walk in and they get scanned and do the same thing. Again, it's remote delivery of clear aligners.
And Ben, what is better for an orthodontist for making Invisalign trays? There's impressions, polyether, polyvinyl siloxane, and there's digital scanning.
Scanner is way better.
And what scanning system did Invisalign own?
We're doing Artero.
They bought Itero, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and we have Artero at our offices just because you get these ones that are supposedly going to be approved by Invisalign, but then a year later they're still not. So I'm kind of scared of those, honestly.
Is Invisalign opened up their digital scanning to anyone else, like 3Shape or?
3Shape, I think. I think it's Trios. Is that the name of the scanner? Yeah, they're doing that. It seems like I heard that CareStreams is doing it as well. But again, I don't think that's finalized. I think they've opened it up, but it's not. You can't actually do it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you said that the Invisalign has such a big brand name, in America, if your brand gets too big, you actually lose the copyright. Examples like Kleenex. When everybody said, hand me a Kleenex, and they weren't referring to the brand, they lost their brand. Same thing, people say, go make a Xerox of this, even though they're using a can of copper.
Yeah.
So if your word gets so ubiquitous that the court determines that it no longer refers to a company, for instance, when you go around the world, probably there's 7 billion Earthlings. 3 billion Earthlings live in a country where the only word for toothpaste is Colgate. So mom will say, put Colgate on that, and she has no connection to what the kid's squeezing out of a tube. Hand me a Kleenex, put some Colgate on that, and go make me a Xerox copy. So if Invisalign's brand gets too ubiquitous, like Kleenex, Xerox, or Colgate, then they can actually lose it.
Well, but that would work. I mean, as long as you had the website still, people still looking for Invisalign. I mean, it would make it. And again, the reason I do Invisalign is to be on top of the doc locator. People are saying, well, you could do Invisalign and swap it out and use ClearCorrect or use somebody else or use SureSmile. Well, I guess you could do that for a little while, but then you'd lose your position on the doctor locator, and that's a powerful device. I mean,
and Invisalign, I'm not an orthodontist. I can't evaluate their trays, but I totally respect their marketing. I totally respect their marketing.
They do a good job, don't they?
So what you're saying now is that find a doctor? Do you have to be an orthodontist, or what about a general dentist?
No. No, it's there's no distinction that I know of between general dentist and orthodontist on there. It's a matter, again, there's nothing that says that being an orthodontist makes you better at Invisalign than being a general dentist. It's a totally different set of mechanics, and an experienced general dentist is probably going to be better than an orthodontist is not experienced in Invisalign, because it's a different setup. So it's all in the ClinCheck and how you do it.
It's all in the what?
The ClinCheck, you have to do the scan or whatever, and you just load it up, and then they do what's called a ClinCheck. You go online and you move the teeth around the way you want the teeth to move. You sequence the events and do like IPR setup and all that kind of stuff. So again, I don't think that necessarily being an orthodontist gives you the right to say that you're better at Invisalign than a general dentist, because he who has more experience with Invisalign is most likely going to be better.
And they do all that designing in Costa Rica, right?
They do. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been down there?
I have not.
Well, why don't we ask them to send us to Costa Rica?
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea, Ryan.
We should go to Juarez too, where their plant, the production plant in Juarez is supposed to be just unbelievable, where they actually make the trays.
Well, actually, I'm in Phoenix. I'm only a 4-hour drive to El Paso, then you cross to Juarez, and all my
4-hour flight.
And my practice is 25% speak Spanish as a primary language, and they say Juarez it's as dangerous as any war zone.
Absolutely.
Mexico has had 10,000 citizens be killed each year and caught in the gunfire in the drug trade for the last 6 years. So they lost 60,000 people the last 6 years. And my dentist homies in El Paso, they will not go across the border anymore.
Right.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
So what percent of your practice? Okay, so you got out of ortho school in 2004. What percent of your, if you started 100 starts in 2004, what percent were clear aligners, and what would that be 12 years later in 2016?
I mean, 0% in 2004, and then I probably got up to, I don't know, 6 or 8% in like 2006, 2007, which was a lot of aligners at the time, and then now I'm shooting for parity. I mean, my goal is to be 50-50.
And where are you at now?
We're just getting ramped up, so not that many. We've been doing it maybe a month and a half, but we've done a little over 100 cases.
What blew my mind the most, I just did a Asian African tour. I was in Malaysia, Indonesia, Tokyo, Singapore, Johannesburg, and I mean, it didn't matter if you were in the sticks of Malaysia, every pretty girl had high heels, an iPhone, and Invisalign. I just
Heck
couldn't
yeah.
believe it. So we would stop them and I'd say, help me understand this. How much money do you make a month? And of course they were shy. And how much did this cost? How much did this iPhone cost? Because obviously you can get an iPhone a lot cheaper in China than you can in the United States. But I would say the average price in Malaysia for Invisalign was about $1,000 to $1,500,
Wow.
and is being bought by girls who had literally, in our mind, no money.
Yeah.
So it shows you that when the consumer wants to
They
whiten
want
their
it.
teeth, if
Yeah.
they want Botox, if they want Invisalign, if they want to, humans will find illegal drugs, whatever. They'll
Whatever.
find the money for whatever they want.
And
And I
we
think a
talked
lot of
about that a lot with
and
the
a,
orthodontists. Like, get out of their way, let them do it.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest problems in dentistry is they're always diagnosing the pocketbook. Another huge problem in diagnosing the pocketbook is
Exactly.
everybody who has the most money, you never know it. And then
That's
everybody who
right.
has no money is fake it till you make it, driving a BMW. So they're looking at that grandma or that grandpa, and they just want to reline her denture, and they don't know that she's got $450,000 in her checking account, and
All on four all day long.
I know, and all on four. Those guys did 17,000 arches last year at 25,000 an arch, and every dental office in America just looks like, well, Grandma doesn't have any money.
I hear it all the time. People can't afford it. Don't you? I mean, I tell the residents and the orthodontists talk to. Don't you dare judge people. I mean, how? I mean, that's we have no right to judge people and what their motivations are, what they can afford. Present the best possible treatment, just like you present for your own family member. Let them decide.
All right, Ben. Well, that was our hour.
Good.
What do you want to say to my homies? What website you want to plug? What do you want them to do? You got so many websites. You got orthopundit.com. You got
orthopundit.com, and then theproortho.com are the two big ones. So.
Okay. Well, again, orthopundit, pundit.com. What's that about? That's your
my
blog.
blog. Yeah.
And it's about the business of dentistry, business of
Yeah.
ortho.
Pretty much, yeah. We get about 30,000 hits a month and about probably 11, 12,000 new unique visitors, which is nothing compared to yours, but it's mostly directed at orthodontists, so there's not very
I
many of
get
them.
10,000 hits a month just from Ryan
Yeah.
sitting next to me during these podcasts. And then the other one was theproortho.com,
Yeah.
www.theproortho.com. And what's different about that than orthopundit.com?
That's the magazine study club.
That's the magazine and study club. And it's a
Yeah.
free subscription.
Yes, sir.
Is it printed in
Quarterly.
It's a quarterly. And is it in paper or all just digital?
Both.
It's in paper and digital.
Yes, sir.
And they can get a paper magazine for free.
Yes, sir.
So then you have advertisers in there.
Yes, sir.
Right on, dude. Well,
If
hey,
you know any of those, you can send them my way. That'd be great.
what's that?
I said, if you have any of those spares laying around, you can throw those my way too. I know it's incredible to talk to the godfather of dental publishing and dental clubs and this stuff didn't exist as far as I could tell before you did it. So it's kind of cool to talk to you.
It's been a fun ride, but I just want to tell. Oh, and then also, what is the MKS forum?
Oh yeah, that's our orthodontic meeting. I'm kind of in a little bit of a row right now with the AAO, American Association of Orthodontists, for how they spend money and what they do with it and that kind of stuff, and how expensive it is to go to the meeting. So this is a really good meeting. It's in Dallas, November 4th and 5th. The MKSforum.com, and it's really inexpensive, easy to get to. It's in Dallas. A lot of CE packed there for the doctors and the staff. So yeah, it's good.
Is that just for orthodontists or general dentists too?
That's pretty much for orthodontists. I don't go and vet everybody, every single person. I don't have time to mess with that. But we're expecting about 500 orthodontists. We've already got almost 400 signed up, and it's only May, so feeling pretty good about it.
I only got thrown out of one course for not being as much. So it was Gary Carr's endo course in San Diego, and you had to be an endodontist.
Well, you come, Howard. I'll put you on the stage for a while.
No, I don't want to piss off the orthodontists.
Come on,
I own
Ortho
Orthotown. I own Orthotown. They already kicked me off the Orthotown boards. They said, I know you own this, but you can't post on Orthotown. You're not an orthodontist.
They kicked me off, too, if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah, so you and I have a lot in common. We've both been banned from Orthotown. But I thought that was just crazy. I mean, I was doing all these root canals, and I wanted the technology, and I wanted to know, and they wouldn't let me in because I wanted to endodontist. So I said I was. I think Gary figured it out at like 3:30. Someone ratted me out, and oh my God, he was so upset. But Turf wars will always continue. Ben, seriously, I respect the fact that you just don't stand in line and salute the status quo. I do love your innovations. I do love your rebel rousing. I just think the world of you, Ben. I really do. I admire you greatly, dude.
You're right back at you, man. You're one of my heroes. Like I said, I feel like I'm just following the path you blaze. So
I have so many arrows in my back now. When you shoot one in my back, it just hits another arrow. I don't even feel anything. But hey, good luck to you on that. And remember, one last tip: if you got 21 offices and you feel like you're overwhelmed, stop hiring people that office managers and stuff that come from a solo practice. The headhunting ability out of the big corporates like Heartland and Dental One and Pacific Dental Services, you can go find talent right now. You can go find some girl who's 28 years old that ran 100 offices for Heartland and is 10 times smarter than you and I in running group practices. And if you focus your search on, I want to see resumes with 5 years experience at Heartland, Pacific, Dental One, the best corporate chains you can find. You only need one of them. Because if she's coming from 100 and you're running 20, you're like kindergarten for her. But if you're coming from 1 and you're throwing in 21, it's going to take you 3-4 years of school hard night. You just need one person that came from bigger than you. And my rule of thumb is they got to come from at least twice as big as you. If you're doing $500,000 and the fastest way to get to $1 million is to go get some FADOM chick with her fellowship in the Academy of Dental Office Manager who ran an office doing $1 million. Then she comes to your 500,000. She'll drag you to $1 million and you won't even know what she did. And if you're at 21 offices, you need to find an operations logistics of someone who ran 42, and she'll come in here and she'll say, Ben, here's what you need to do. You need to get the hell out of my way. And it's going to take me 6 months to whip this thing into shape. And so that's what you need to do.
I appreciate the tip. I'll take all the help I can get, brother. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Best of luck to you.
Take care. Thanks, Howard.